Hello, welcome back to Flipping Motors UK. So today I'm going to show you why you should or shouldn't buy a Toyota IQ. So here we are, a Toyota IQ. This one is a 1.3 litre engine in the IQ3 top of the range specification. So let's find out a bit about it. So first of all, in 2003 Toyota had plans for the IQ. It wasn't revealed until 2007 at the Frankfurt Motor Show. And then in 2008 it was launched at the Geneva Motor Show. Toyota spent a lot of time, understandably, designing the IQ. It wasn't just a rebadged iGo or an iGo with a couple of extra bits. This was a totally different car, totally different styling, and everything had to be redesigned to accommodate 3 to 4 people in such a small cabin. Now Toyota, I don't know if any of you have worked with them before, but Toyota are big on something called Kaizen, which is all to do with continuous incremental improvement. However, this was all pushed out the door when the IQ was being designed and swapped for Kokushin, which is revolutionary change or radical innovation, which I think is fair to say the IQ is. Amazingly, it is under 3 meters long. So around the size of an original Mini, and we all know how well they were designed. I thought they were outstanding because it could fit 4 people in relative comfort. Well, guess what? The IQ is exactly the same. It's actually 2,985 millimeters in length, which means it's around, I think it's about 14 inches smaller than an iGo, 15 inches smaller than an iGo, which, I mean, I've sold a few before. They are just a little tin box, aren't they? There's not a lot to them. Yes, you can fit 4 in relative comfort, but it just goes to show how incredible these IQs were. Not only that, they were also 65 millimeters wider than an iGo inside, so a lot more spacious, a lot more comfortable, so you get a lot more shoulder room. The IQ, in fact, is as wide as a Volkswagen Golf. I did mention this on my last video, saying how spacious it was and how it felt like you were driving something a lot bigger, until you looked around and realised that you could touch a rear window from the driver's seat. Regards to styling, you can see that the front wheels are pushed as close to each corner, well, front and rear wheels are pushed as close to each corner as they possibly can be. That again is all to aid cabin space and benefiting that 3+1 configuration. Underneath the rear you do get a full flat fuel tank. I won't be able to show you that from here. And regarding the cabin space also, this 3+1 is benefited by removing the glove box, so you can have the passenger seat a lot further forward than the driver's seat. Means you get plenty of space in the back still. Don't get me wrong, I don't think I'd want to be there for a very long time, but for short journeys I can't see this being a problem. And also the aircon controls are so compactly packed. You can see here this one has the dual zone climate control being top of range, and also by having the radio controls on the steering wheel, all to aid that cabin space. Could you fit 4 in? I wouldn't want to try it, but definitely, confidently, I'd say if you put the passenger seat, I could sit there quite comfortably. You've still got quite a bit of leg room. Fantastic design by Toyota. Amazingly, despite all this, the IQ actually gets a 5-star NCAP rating. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't want to be in the back in a rear end smash, but I think that's absolutely outstanding. Under the bonnet, everything has all been redesigned too. Might as well show you that actually. I did touch briefly on this on the last video, this one being a bigger engine as well. Everything is in a different space. You get the longest dipstick you've ever seen, it's still going. I'm going to have to just leave that there now, aren't I, because there's no chance I'm getting that back in. You've got your airbox down by the radiator, you've got your intake on top of the engine. Trust me, that makes it hard to do spark plugs, I can assure you that. Your coolant bottles rammed down the side there. You've got a horn right next to the timing casing. Not only that, you've also got the front differentials pushed so far forward as well. I don't know if you can see that down there. And then you've also got a totally redesigned steering rack and column as well. When the IQ was first revealed, they weren't really the best seller in this country. I mean, I'm obviously from the northeast of England, never really seen loads of them. I'd imagine down in cities like London and Birmingham, they were a little bit more popular. Obviously really nice and easy to park. But I think it was a price tag that put most people off. You could get an IQ from £9,495, but an equivalent iGo would have been about £2,000 less. And you could spend all the way up to £15,000 on one of these. This one probably was as well, by the way, being the IQ3 with a bigger engine. Someone will have spent 15 grand on that car. In today's money, that's probably over 20 grand. And don't get me wrong, it's a very cleverly packaged car, but it's still a lot of money. It did come with two engines, a little 1 litre with a 5-speed manual gearbox. About 68 brake horsepower, but don't be fooled, they weren't nippy at all, even in something this size. In fact, they were quite slow. 0 to 60 was over 14 seconds. This one is the much rarer 1.3 engine with a 6-speed manual gearbox. It's got close to 100 brake horsepower. And again, don't this is no hot hatch. You can drive it, is the best way of putting it. It'll do 65 mile an hour in second gear. Don't ask me how I found that out, but it's definitely not a hot or even a warm hatchback, but it has got enough poke for typical motorway driving. And that leads us on to the Aston Martin Cygnet, a total one-off. So I think this was more to do with emission standards, so Aston Martin could be suitable for these, but it's pretty much a totally redesigned Toyota IQ. It's the same shape overall, but it's got the Aston Martin backlights, the Aston Martin front grille. The headlights are very similar to the Toyota actually. The interior, as I'm going to show you, is fully redesigned. The dashboard layout is the same, but it's all wrapped in leather Alcantara. It was a lot more personalisable, and you could even get some optional cushions for the rear seats. Very Aston Martin. But these again, they were £32,000 to £35,000 new. I mean, these are probably mostly snapped up by Aston Martin owners as a little city car, but it's a lot of money. They're all automatic, the Aston Martins. Me personally, I've only ever seen one. It was actually on St James's Boulevard in Newcastle a few years ago. To start with, I thought it was one of these, and I was quite surprised to see the Aston Martin badge. Someone has also made a one-off, an Aston Martin Cygnet with a 4.7 litre V8 again, which I'm going to show you. I can imagine that was fun, or very, very hard to keep in a straight line. But overall, they are a very rare car. If you have a look, there's only 2 on Auto Trader at the moment, and they are between £40,000 and £45,000. So these have actually appreciated in value. Now let me show you some of my favourite things about the IQ, and also a couple of things that I maybe don't like so much. So regarding the styling, I had a comment on the last video, which I kind of agreed with. It is just a door. The doors are actually made super thin, so it is easier for your shoulder space when you're inside, but they are super large as well, so it's easier for passengers to get into the rear should they be punished. They come with these 15 or 16 inch alloy wheels. These are the larger 16 inch alloys. If you look at the tyre side, it's something really weird. 175 60 16. I bet they were hard to get hold of and only fitted to the IQ. This one luckily has 4 recent tyres. As I mentioned before, the wheelbase, all wheels are pushed as far to the corners as they can be. It's all to aid that interior space. I like the engine. I thought it kept up with motorway traffic quite nicely. Obviously, I drove this car back from Edinburgh, which is round about 150 miles. In such a small car, I was dreading this, but you know what? It really wasn't too bad. You think to like a smart car, which is probably about the closest thing to this, bearing in mind that is just a 2-seater, they used to handle horrendously. The IQ isn't too bad. Obviously it's nice and easy to park. I found it very comfortable, obviously being as wide as a Golf. There's plenty of shoulder space. The seats, despite being super thin, again to aid passenger space, I did find very comfortable. Look how thin they are, look at that there. It's incredible really, isn't it? Just shows how superbly designed the IQs are. And also I'm going to have to show you, for turning circle. So there we are, I'm on a private road. Let's show you the turning circle, see how it goes. So if you just whip it round like so. It's incredible. So you've seen the IQ's party trick. Let me have a little show you inside. Now in the interior there's a couple of little bits and pieces I like. Obviously I mentioned about the comfort. Seat patterns aren't great. Look at this. Full set of genuine mats as well. And in the rear you find the smallest car mat ever. Well, yeah, obviously I like the fact that this one's a 6-speed gearbox. I like the specification. So obviously you've got your keyless start, keyless entry, folding mirrors, automatic lights, automatic wipers, and you've got these high quality dash finishes. It's just all a really nice standard. I know I've mentioned it's a lot more expensive than the iGo, but the fit and finish resembles that as well. I think it's a really nice design. Again, everything is all designed for space. So I've obviously got the climate settings down here, and the fan goes all the way back here, but that's also you can have as much space as possible for your front seat passengers, which then means plenty of room, well, enough room for your rear seat passengers as well, which I think is really good. I also like the little torch on the roof. You can actually move this about. I think that's quite quirky, isn't it? Little LED light in there. It's a nice little fitting, quite handy. I think more cars should have that actually, shouldn't they? But yeah, like I say, I know this is the IQ3, the more basic models won't have as much as that, but it is what it is. Now in the used market, you won't pay a massive amount more for a higher spec car, so why wouldn't you? Especially in such a lovely colour as this blue, nice metallic that this one is. Now that leads us on to the things that I don't like so much. So what do I not like about the IQ? Well, there's not a lot really, but I'm going to show you a couple of little niggles. Right, let's make a start with the obvious. Now, most of this is down to the fact that the car is small. You get absolutely no boot space at all. BCA, what they do when you pick the cars up is they put the set of mats in the boot. They couldn't even do that in this one. They're hanging over the rear seat, so it just shows how little space there is. Down to this, the only issue for some people, I know particularly people a little bit more experienced in age, will say, don't like to drive a car without a spare wheel. I know that from my time served at a Skoda dealership. But, I mean, there's no room for one, so you can't really complain, can you? But I guess that could be an issue for some people. Get this boot lid closed. It's not really a 4-seater. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm going to sit in here. I'm actually quite comfortable here, I'm not going to lie. I could probably move a bit further forward, and I've still got knee space here. Could I fit in there? Yes, I could, but I wouldn't like to be sitting behind me as a driver. Let me tell you that. So it's not really a 4-seater. You could maybe have some child seats in there, but I wouldn't say that's a 4-seater personally. 3.5. 3 people you could probably get relatively comfortably in there. Child seats, you have actually got the Isofix mountings in here, so that would be quite handy. Again, I think my only regret would be if you were in that rear end smash and you had someone in there. Did they stand much chance? I don't know. And then the final thing's just one little thing on the interior. Again, this is due to the way the cars had to be packaged, but I just find the controls for like the radio a little bit fiddly. So you've got volume up, volume down, next station, there you go, BBC Radio 3, BBC Scotland. Shows you where the cars come from. Classic, typical Toyota driver. No radio on it. You can tell it's a Toyota, can't you? But anyway, yes, it's simple. There's not much going on, but it's also fiddly. Then you've got this mode power button. And I think to be able to do your auxiliary and change your settings and that, I would like it to be a bit more simple. Personally, I don't think it would have taken any more space. I know you've got the CD player up here. Just a couple of buttons around here would have helped. And maybe a radio display on there. And you could have had the passenger airbag and the seat belts potentially up here like some cars do. But I think that's just me being picky now, isn't it? So that leads us on to the final question. Should you buy a Toyota IQ? If you're after a small city car, It's comfortable, can do the odd motorway journey, can occasionally have a friend or family member in the back, or even a couple of children. Yeah, I don't see why not. I wouldn't be using it to commute up the A1 every day, but I think overall it would be a fantastic buy. And this one here, yes, to do all the value better than some cars, but this one here, it's an 11 plate with around 90,000 miles. I'm going to be putting it up at 2,995. So if you are after one, drop me a message. I've got the Facebook page, Flipping Motors UK. If you're not on that, make sure you are, because I've actually provided a few more updates on this car since the first video. I know you guys like to see some of the mechanical side of it. There's a few updates on there, so feel free to have a little look. Flipping Motors UK on Facebook. Facebook. And again, what do you think? Would you buy a Toyota IQ? Could you fit one into your life? I could think of a few people one of these would suit fantastically, but let me know what your thoughts are. Some people might just hate them because of the styling, because they're small, but I think they're super intelligent, amazingly designed. Obviously Toyota spent a very long time on this. They're no strangers to a good car, they know what they're doing, but obviously they did throw everything away from the Kaizen method to redesign the IQ. Let me know what you think, guys, in the comments. Thank you very much for your continued support. Hope you've enjoyed this short video. I'll catch you all on the next one.